In the rolling forested hills of northern Arkansas, 1899, the Whitmore homestead stood like a solitary sentinel over a quiet valley. Its wooden walls, weathered but sturdy, reflected a life of toil and care. Henry Whitmore, a broad-shouldered man with hands calloused from years of farming, worked tirelessly to provide for his family. Martha Whitmore, gentle yet strong, managed the household with warmth and unshakable resolve. Their three children, Lucy, the eldest at 12, thoughtful and protective; Samuel, 10, mischievous but brave; and little Emma, just 6, curious beyond her years, brought laughter and light to the homestead. Life here was simple and rhythmic. Mornings spent tending to the cows and crops, afternoons teaching the children lessons about the land, and evenings warmed by firelight and stories. Yet, amidst the serenity, an unsettling undercurrent wove through the hills. At twilight, strange glimmers sometimes appeared on the distant ridges, flickering like lanterns in a dream. The children often whispered about them in hushed tones, claiming they saw figures moving in the mist. Henry would frown but dismiss their tales as childish fancy. Martha's heart, however, tightened with an unexplainable worry. Even in the golden calm of an autumn afternoon, a faint, almost imperceptible chill hinted that change was coming. The Whitmore family, content yet unaware, was about to face a night that would test the very foundations of their love and courage. October 12th dawned crisp and clear. Sunlight spilled over the hills, brushing golden light onto the farm. Henry whistled while repairing a fence, and Martha's hum mingled with the clatter of pots in the kitchen. Lucy and Samuel raced through the fields, weaving between rows of corn, their laughter ringing through the valley like wind chimes. Emma, chasing a blue butterfly, paused to stare at the edge of the woods. "The lights again," she whispered, pointing toward a shimmer that danced between the trees. Martha hurried over, brushing back Emma's hair. "It's just the morning sun, darling. Nothing to worry about." But as she spoke, a shiver ran down her spine. She glanced toward the ridges, half expecting to see the shimmer linger. The morning proceeded without incident. The cows were milked, bread was baked, and chores completed. Yet the uneasy feeling remained, tucked like a shadow at the edges of Martha's mind. Henry, focused on his work, remained oblivious to the subtle tension, believing the day would end as all others had. But that evening, when twilight settled over the hills, everything would change. As the sun sank behind the western ridges, casting long shadows across the homestead, Henry called the children in from the fields. Lucy, Samuel, and Emma were nowhere to be found. At first, he assumed they were playing hide and seek, but when Martha joined him, panic set in. They called and searched, scanning every familiar nook, yet the only answer was silence. Henry grabbed a lantern, the warm glow quivering in his hands, and ventured into the nearby woods. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the faint rustle of leaves. Yet no children's voices answered. Each corner of the homestead yard held only emptiness, and footprints were nowhere to be found. Martha's sobs pierced the stillness, echoing across the valley. Neighbors arrived, drawn by the commotion, lanterns swinging and voices raised. Every search was futile. By nightfall, dread had taken hold. Something beyond ordinary understanding had occurred. The children had vanished, and the hills seemed to close in on the worried parents. With dawn breaking, a more organized search began. Farmers, neighbors, and the local sheriff, Calloway, combed the woods, ridges, and riverbanks. Lanterns cut through early morning mist as anxious voices called for Lucy, Samuel, and Emma. Henry's hands shook with frustration. Martha's prayers grew frantic. The community murmured tales of missing children elsewhere, stories half believed and half dismissed. But the Whitmores' desperation was unlike any other. Their children had vanished without trace, leaving only the echo of laughter and a lingering chill. Sheriff Calloway, normally stoic, felt unease clawing at him. Even with all the experience in the hills, he could not explain the emptiness, the unnatural silence where children should have been. That night Martha sat alone by the fire, memories of her grandmother's stories rising unbidden. Tales of spirits, lost travelers, and children taken to otherworldly places had been dismissed as superstition, yet now they seemed eerily plausible. Could the hills themselves have swallowed her children? Henry returned, exhausted and tense. He tried to reassure her, though even he could not ignore the strange shimmer on the northern ridge that had appeared at dusk. The wind seemed to carry whispers, unintelligible yet deliberate, as if the hills were alive, watching, waiting. Fear and hope battled silently in their hearts. But one thought persisted. They had to act before the children were lost forever. On the third morning, a figure appeared at the edge of the homestead, a gaunt man with storm-gray eyes and an aura of quiet authority. "I know where your children are," he said, his voice low and urgent. Martha recoiled. Henry stepped protectively forward. The man spoke of a hidden valley beyond the northern ridge, a place where time moved differently, and children were taken not for harm, but to learn lessons the ordinary world could not teach. Doubt warred with desperation. Could this be truth, or merely the delusion of a strange wanderer? Yet something in the man's eyes told Henry and Martha that hope, fragile though it was, lay in following him. Guided by the stranger, the Whitmores began their trek. The forest grew denser, mist curling around gnarled trees. Every step felt surreal, as if the hills themselves watched their progress. Branches whispered like voices, and shadows seemed to flicker at the edge of their vision. Martha gripped Henry's arm, whispering prayers for safety. The children, though unseen, seemed closer somehow, a sense of presence guiding their path. The stranger spoke rarely, only pointing toward faint glimmers of light that hovered like lanterns in the fog, and urging them forward. By the fourth night, the Whitmores saw them, shadows darting at the edge of a clearing, laughter carried by the wind. Lucy, Samuel, and Emma appeared briefly, like apparitions, then vanished again. Joy and desperation collided in Henry and Martha's hearts. The parents realized the valley was more than a place. It was alive, testing them. Every sighting of the children became a lesson in patience, faith, and courage. The hope of reunion pushed them onward, but the fear of failure shadowed every step. The stranger finally revealed the valley's secret. Children were taken to learn lessons, resilience, courage, empathy, gifts the ordinary world could not easily offer. Time here was transformative, not cruel. Henry and Martha absorbed this truth reluctantly. Their children were safe, yet unreachable. Only a parent's unwavering love could bridge the gap, the stranger said. The Whitmores understood. They had to summon every ounce of faith and bravery to reclaim their family. The path through the mist brought illusions, phantoms of past regrets, and unspoken fears. The Whitmores faced moments they wished to erase, arguments left unresolved, harsh words spoken in anger, mistakes in judgment. Only by forgiving themselves and embracing love could they move forward. "We must trust in our love," Martha whispered, her voice shaking but resolute. Slowly the valley responded, shifting, parting to reveal a faint, glowing trail. With each step, hope grew stronger. Their children waited, and now Henry and Martha were ready to meet the true test of courage. Finally, after nights of searching through the misty valley, Henry and Martha glimpsed their children near a crystalline pond, glowing softly under an ethereal light. Lucy ran first, her arms outstretched toward her mother, tears sparkling in her eyes. Samuel followed, a determined yet cautious smile on his face, while little Emma spun in joy, her laughter ringing like a bell through the still air. Henry and Martha's hearts swelled with relief, but the valley's magic reminded them that this reunion was fragile. The children had been shaped by a realm beyond ordinary life. They were stronger, braver, wiser, but still children, needing guidance to navigate the return to the world they had once known. The air shimmered with warmth, almost as if the valley itself approved of their reunion. The parents reached out, and the children ran into their arms, the family whole again. Yet in that embrace, Henry and Martha realized that love alone was not enough. They had to understand the lessons their children had learned and bring those lessons home with them. The children spoke of their time in the valley, their voices mingling with the soft hum of the pond. Lucy had met beings who taught empathy, guiding lost creatures and learning patience in the process. Samuel faced challenges that tested his courage, climbing cliffs and navigating the dense, whispering forests. Emma, even at 6, had explored hidden wonders, asking questions no one had ever thought to ask, and discovering the beauty of curiosity and wonder. Henry and Martha listened in awe. They understood that the children had been safe, nurtured, and taught lessons the outside world could not provide. Their pride mingled with gratitude and relief. The valley had transformed their children in ways they could never have imagined. The stranger who had guided them all explained the valley's final truth. Love and guidance shaped destinies more than fear or control. Parents could not shelter their children from every hardship, but they could instill courage, empathy, and wisdom. Only through nurturing hearts could they hope to reclaim not just their children, but the essence of family itself. Henry and Martha absorbed this truth fully. They realized that fear could not govern their lives. They had to embrace faith, trust, and unwavering love. Only then could they safely return home with their children, fully prepared for life beyond the magical valley. The stranger presented a choice: remain in the magical valley, safe and perfect but separated from the ordinary world, or return to their homestead, carrying the lessons and children back into reality. The Whitmores hesitated. The valley offered safety, wonder, and timeless beauty, but their hearts called for home. They chose reality. They understood that the world was imperfect and often harsh, yet it was where love, courage, and compassion mattered most. The valley seemed to shimmer in approval, acknowledging their choice with a quiet, glowing hum. Their journey home was less foreboding than the journey in. The mist seemed to part willingly, guiding them along gentle slopes and familiar-looking trails. The children laughed and played, sharing stories of their time in the valley. Henry and Martha walked hand in hand, hearts lighter than they had been in days. The hills no longer felt threatening. Instead, they seemed alive with promise, as if the lessons of the valley had permeated every leaf, every tree, and every stone. The family walked in quiet awe, realizing that the greatest magic was love, courage, and the bond they shared. Returning home, the Whitmore homestead seemed smaller, yet infinitely warmer. Neighbors gathered, eyes wide with astonishment. The children had returned. The impossible had become reality. Henry and Martha embraced their children, hearts full and tears flowing freely. Though the world would never know the full story, the Whitmores felt the change deeply. They had glimpsed the extraordinary, learned lessons no one else could imagine, and emerged stronger as a family. The homestead, once ordinary, now radiated hope. Back in their daily routines, the Whitmores applied the lessons learned. Lucy helped younger children in the village, teaching empathy and patience. Samuel assisted neighbors without hesitation, demonstrating bravery and responsibility. Emma, ever curious, explored the world with wonder, inspiring those around her to see life through fresh eyes. Henry and Martha nurtured these traits, fostering love and courage in every interaction. The family's presence became a quiet light in the hills, a reminder that even after tragedy, resilience, compassion, and love could flourish. At night, the hills whispered again, but differently. The winds no longer carried fear or threat. They hummed with gentle melodies, as if the valley had blessed the family. The Whitmores listened in quiet reverence, realizing that the hills were no longer a source of dread, but a guardian of hope and memory. The family story became a living legend, inspiring villagers and travelers alike. The lost homestead was no longer a tale of tragedy, but a testament to the power of love, courage, and perseverance. Years passed. The children grew into compassionate, wise adults, carrying the valley's lessons into the world. The Whitmore homestead remained a sanctuary, teaching future generations the importance of courage, empathy, and unyielding love. The story of the lost children became a beacon in the hills. Neighbors told it often, reminding all who listened that even in the darkest moments, growth and hope could bloom. The tragedy of that night had transformed into a legacy of love. One autumn evening, long after Henry and Martha had passed, a descendant wandered the hills, drawn to a hidden pond sparkling under the twilight. The waters shimmered, reflecting the golden hues of the setting sun, and faintly, three children laughing and playing. Though generations had passed, the presence of Lucy, Samuel, and Emma lingered in the reflection, a reminder that true love and unwavering faith never vanish. The lost homestead's tragedy had transformed into enduring hope, proving that even in heartbreak, love could guide, nurture, and inspire forever.